Welcome to the channel. My name is Piotr Kowalczyk, and in today's video we are exploring the trumpet for music composers. Before we write anything for that instrument, it would be wise from us to get to know that instrument on a deeper level. We are talking about the articulation, the range of motion, the sound quality, and also the transposition. In the end of this video, we are going to feel way better about writing for that instrument. Let's get started. Trumpet is a transposing instrument. Most common one, what we witness in jazz and pop music, it's written in B flat, which means transposed up the whole step from concert pitch. If I want to achieve G concert pitch, I have to write A for the trumpet player. He plays A, I hear G on piano. That's the whole transposition idea for the trumpet. You have to be aware that we have more than one trumpet. We've got actually many. The transposition goes from B flat we mentioned, but also A, D, E flat, E, low F, and G. The two extreme examples, it's the trumpet piccolo, very high, and also Firebird, which is combination of the trumpet with trombone. I really recommend that you double check this Firebird because it's extraordinary, not only sound, but the look itself. So how this transposition thing works? Well, let's take a look. B flat concert key, it's gonna be presented to the trumpet player as key of C. Trumpet player is gonna play through C key for himself, but on the piano it's gonna sound like a B flat. Concert C, it's gonna look like D for the trumpet player. F, it's gonna look like G. G, it's gonna look like A, and so on, so on. When it comes to a range of motion, we can go all the way to E, below middle C, all the way to two octaves up above the middle C. Of course, skilled trumpet players, like we mentioned earlier in the previous video, Arturo Sandoval could go five octaves up, which basically the VST plugin doesn't allow me to play. But I guarantee you, this is like the most flexible instrument. Okay, so we could definitely go beyond that range and be totally successful. The range of motion on a trumpet, or any horn itself, it's a one thing. But there is something called sweet spot. The sweet spot represents an area of that range, what feels natural to the musician and that instrument, which means we are not pushing the envelope too low and not pushing the envelope too high. So we are sitting in that space. The comfortable range of motion I could consider C to A, sometimes we can go B flat if someone is more, if someone can control intonation. The C comes across again, but to be safe, we could basically write for most of the trumpets in that register. From C, middle C to A. Okay? Some people say that F sharp is the lowest. F is totally possible. So is E. Okay? So we've got, that's the difference. The range of motion, and now we are shrinking that distance. And we've got almost 1.5. The VST plugin responsible for our trumpet sound comes from Modio 2 horn section. Be aware that the trumpet expands what's happening in you, in your own body. We're talking about the lips, the pressure, the abdomen, the timbre, what you build with your own face, neck, shoulders, upper body, the abdomen. You see, this instrument is going to sound slightly different if it played by other person. So it's an indication that we have a huge impact on the sound itself. Now, if we push the envelope too much, we could find an element of distortion and lack of tune. If we go the other way, the same thing. So our goal is to, through practice, expand that range of control. So it's a one thing. Another thing is to know who you are and your abilities. Okay? And then we can just embrace the music composition through that guidance. So we chose large studio with echo. So if I go below the C, you see the slower note? Could give me a lot of trouble. So definitely to hit that note in a clear way, it could take a skilled trumpet player. Now G, A, you see, I already hear that there could be a problem. B, C. C, it's on money. right, so let's just turn the reverb off, which basically reminds me of practice room. So we just taste the sound of the true instrument. We have to be smart here. We try to introduce each horn the way you could digest it by yourself. The range of motion, the sound, the articulation, and the relationship with other instruments. So speaking of other instruments, we did introduce a tenor trombone the other day. When you think about the motion of the trombone, it goes from E to E flat. Okay, so that was the range. Boom. We also realize that the comfortable range of the instrument goes from all the way to B flat. Let's just use this example on the piano. The trombone's range that's the range of motion. Now we also explored the comfortable range. That's the range of the trombone. The most common playing will happen between these 2 points. Okay? Not too high, not too low. It's just this area. Okay, so this is where the trombone sits, basically. Today we are exploring trumpet's range. And we also polished it to a smaller, to comfortable area. So now the trumpet player, it's gonna sit in this area. Okay? So when you combine the comfortable areas, they look like this. Okay? So now when I think about composing or writing music for these instruments, I'm thinking, if I write a unison, okay, so if I come up with a melody line, okay, and I try to play it in unison, which means trumpet player, it's in his zone, right? This is very comfortable for the trumpet player. However, for the trombonist, he has to rise up to that range. And now, the maximum of the range for the trombone is the B flat. Of course, we can go to E flat, but you have to know if you have a strong enough musician to play this note. What does it mean from a ranger perspective? Well, the trumpet player sits comfortably in his range. The trombonist has to elevate his performance to maximum range on top. Okay? Let's just reverse it. If I decide to play this for the trombonist, it's gonna sit in his environment beautifully. Okay? Like this is heaven for tenor trombone. This is a disaster for the trumpet player. Okay? So what do? You consider of using octaves. And now, when I spread this music through 2 octaves, the trumpet player is very happy and trombonist is very happy. Okay? So the range of motion, it's a one thing, but are we aware how to use it in a way that it's very friendly for that instrument? So I think that's the challenge. Now, if I decide to use this in major and minor thirds, this may change my perspective, how I approach the trombone. The trombonist still plays high, but now this high makes sense because it's in a relationship to trumpet in major and minor thirds. Okay, so this is the trumpet. Now, the trombone. Okay, so this is unison. If I drop the trombone into his environment, okay, so this is octaves. Now let's adjust one more time the trombone. When it comes to choices, as a arranger composer, I can consider other intervals as well. Major sixth and minor sixth, it's one of those intervals I like to use a lot. This is the relationship between the trumpet and the trombone in major sixth. Okay, right now we are dealing with two different voicings. And of course, when we add additional layers, this will have even bigger impact on the entire music. Muted trumpet will bring a new flavor to the music. Beyond the flavor, there is a volume challenge because there's a less of the volume available. It's much quieter, and also the range of motion. When you look at the piano, the favorable range of motion goes from middle C up to F above the middle C. Okay, so this is where the mute trumpet is gonna live. Let me increase the volume. Okay, so it's a totally different experience of that instrument. A reverb. Okay, so if I go, of course I could, but if I go beyond that C, you can tell the controlling that sound, it's much more difficult. You know what would be cool? To have a piano underneath. Like with the trombone, we've got many different mutes for trumpet players. Today I would love to focus on two specific ones because they are different from each other. And basically this conversation gives you a bigger picture what's happening. There is a mute called Harmon mute. The Harmon mute is something what you hold in your hand. Through that mute you can manipulate how much close and open you apply to the sound you create, which means it's very flexible and you decide wow, 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 wow. Okay? You decide how much of it and how you're going to treat it. So it's a very personal thing and you can create a very interesting effects with that mute. Cup mute, it's the mute what we basically grab and stack inside the horn bell. Then we play as long as you need. After you're done playing, you disconnect the thing and put it away. Okay, that's the difference. You stack it in, you play, you finish playing, you take it off. Remember, when you write for such an instrument and such a mute, consider the fact that this trumpet player has to stop playing, grab that mute, stack it in, and then play it again. And after that, he needs at least 3-4 measures to disconnect the thing and put it away and play again. So you have to consider these approaches, these factors, what the instrumentalists have to go through. I don't think it's a right representation of the Harmon mute, but you know the idea. The question of the day for you is, what would you like to know about that instrument? How would you pursue it? observe it, write it down. What gives you the most trouble? What excites you about that knowledge, right? And so on. So choose the topic, and guess what? It would be wonderful to kind of embrace that conversation. All right, that's it. This is the trumpet. As you see, we try to be organized here. We introduce the tenor trombone first, the trumpet, and we start kind of seeing them playing together. It's very important to us that we put our knowledge into motion. So not only it stays in your head, but manifests in your heart and the sound and everything else. So you start seeing the possibilities, and then you get excited about the future music. Until then, my name is Piotr Kowalczyk. I will see you next time.